everyone. I, Pooja Mandotar, Campus Ambassador Team Manager at Legal Law Forum. We at Legal Law Forum endeavor to promote legal education and awareness through various legal education activities. We believe in encouraging young law students and helping them resolve the gap between those who come from legal background and those who do not. Today, we have with us an outstanding advocate, Kanika Bharadwaj ma'am. I would now ask Ms. Bhakti, our coordinator for today, to introduce ma'am to us. Over to you, Bhakti.
Thank you so much, Pooja. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bhakti Tidbekar and I am a member of PRHRT in the Legal Law Forum. Our today's topic of webinar is mediation and negotiation in family and matrimonial disputes. But before going ahead, let me introduce our today's guest for our webinar, Advocate Kanika Bharadwaj ma'am. Advocate Kanika Bharadwaj ma'am is the founder and partner of a full-time law firm, Kanika Bharadwaj Law Firm in South Delhi. Ma'am has completed her LLB from Lloyd Law College and has done Masters in Business Laws from Amity University. Ma'am is in this field of litigation since last 6 years. She has an expertise in matrimonial, criminal, domestic violence, family, corporate, 138 Negotiable Instruments Act, civil, real estate, insurance, debt recovery, insolvency drafting and vetting of documents, labor and business related cases. Presently, ma'am is working on cases all over Mumbai, Delhi NCR, District Courts of Mumbai, High Court of Delhi, High Court of Mumbai and the Supreme Court of India. Apart from courts, ma'am is also working on various cases in tribunals such as CAT, RERA, DRT, NCDRC and MC. She is also on the panel of Yamuna Expressway Industrial Development Authority, Noida in Uttar Pradesh. Ma'am, it is an absolute honor to have you here with us today. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Bhakti, for such a nice introduction. Thank you so much. And before starting the session, first of all, I would important these days to talk about mediations and to talk about settlement and negotiations in matrimonial cases, as we can see how the number of such cases are rising day by day in our country. Even if we see the scenario of COVID-19, it has been seen by the Commission of Women that there is a tremendous increase in family and matrimonial cases in the country. So I am really glad that I'm here to talk about mediation and negotiations, because I feel that it is very important in our country to talk about all these things. So we can save the marriages in our country. So in the recent past, a large number of disputes are being reported to the police and also are being filed in the courts. As a result of this, not only there is an increase in litigation in the court, but the relation between the parties are also getting spoiled. The relation between the parties are also getting destroyed, because it can be a reason that nowadays people are well aware of their laws and well aware of their rights. But whatever the reason such number of cases are getting, are increasing day by day, and the relation between the parties are, getting spoiled. So most of these matters, most of the domestic violence or divorce cases or any such type of a matter that comes into the family law, such matters could be easily settled without going to the police or without going to the court, only if one of the party agree, only if all of the parties agree to the same. So if one of the party do not agree for the mediation, or one of the party do not agree for the mutual settlement, then obviously it is not possible. Then ultimately the party will have to go to court only, will have to process the litigation only. But then for the settlement, then the said dispute can be solved without going to the court also, without involving into the litigation also. Therefore, mediation is the only forum, it is the only channel to help the disputant parties to resolve their cases among themselves only. So this is one of the channel, we can say, to resolve the dispute between husband and wife. So the people in India have a misconception. So this is very interesting and very important topic also, because that I personally feel that this is a misconception. The people in India have a misconception that the bar and the bench only destroys the marriages. I have heard people saying that if you go to the court, you'll only get your marriage destroyed and nothing is going to come out of it. There will be no outcome. You will spend huge amount of money and huge amount of time, but ultimately nothing is going to happen. Courts will only destroy your marriage. So this is a misconception, because people are actually not aware of the fact. They are not aware that the court themselves give priority to settle the matrimonial cases. The court themselves give the priority, and the court themselves want that the issues between husband and wife should be resolved in the mediation or with the counseling, and therefore this concept of mediation has been introduced in our legal system when it comes to the family cases or the matrimonial cases. So the first step after filing of a matrimonial case is always the mediation. If you will see, if there are many cases in matrimonial dispute, there can be divorce, then there can be domestic violence, there can be 498A for dowry and cruelty, there can be a custody matter, and all such matters, a huge number of matters in matrimonial cases. But then you will see that the first step, if you take any of the case, the first step after filing a particular case in the court is mediation. What does the judge do after, when both the parties are there in front of the judge? The first step, the first thing that the judge will do is he send both the parties to the mediation center which is there in the court, and only after the mediation, when he comes to know that whether the mediation has been failed or whether the mediation has been successful, only after when he comes to know about what is the status of mediation, then only he further takes the litigation process, then only he further moves for the litigation. In case the mediation is successful, if in case the case is settled, all the cases are withdrawn at the first step only. So the first step after filing a particular litigation is sending both the parties to the mediation only. The court mostly does not allow further court proceedings until the counselling of both the parties are done, and both the parties have undergone the process of mediation. When even after counseling and efforts by the mediator to settle the matter of parties, if the party still wishes to process further for the litigation, then only the court agrees for the process of litigation. When the party disagree to settle their dispute, so the family laws and court mostly encourage mediation. So the misconception that there is in the mind of people that the court only destroys marriage and all such thing, it is not true. There is a concept now in the court which is called as mediation in the matrimonial cases, and the court always encourage mediation and negotiation and amicable settlement in the court in all the matrimonial cases. So the family laws and court, as I said, that mostly encourage mediation, reconciliation and settlement by amicable agreement instead of litigating in courts, which is a fact that I want everyone to know. So now the question comes that what is mediation? What exactly mediation is? We know that the court wants both the parties to undergo the mediation and counseling process. So we have heard this term a lot in matrimonial cases of mediation. The question is, what exactly mediation is? So to answer this question, mediation is basically a settlement process. We can say that it is a settlement process in which either parties or court appoint a mediator who helps the parties on reaching a certain terms and conditions, and mediator helps the parties on reaching an amicable solution or an agreement. So this is what basically mediation is. So mediation is a voluntary process in which an impartial and neutral mediator tries to bring together the disputant parties to arrive at a mutually agreeable solution. So the parties to the dispute have an opportunity to resolve, to reconcile their grievances and feelings, and thereafter work out on the solution to meet their interest. The mediator neither decides nor imposes any solution on the parties. but he creates favorable environment to enable both the parties to reach a certain amicable settlement. So mediator is a person who basically who is there, who is neutral, and this mediator, what does he do basically? He talks to both the party, he communicates with both the party, and he creates such an environment that both the parties, they tell all the issues, whatever the issues are, whatever their problem is regarding each other, they can openly talk with the mediator, and then the mediator creates such an environment that they come to an amicable solution. So this is only one of the effort that is being taken by the mediator to resolve a particular dispute between a married couple. So he creates a favorable environment to enable both the parties to reach to a amicable settlement. So this is only the effort that mediator can give. But one thing that one should always keep in mind, that the mediator will never impose his terms and condition on both the parties. Mediator cannot, he does not have the power to impose any of the term and condition, or to impose any of the laws on both the parties. So ultimately it will be the discretion of both the parties only. So if both the parties agree for the settlement in the mediation, so the mediation will be successful and there will be no point of going into litigation process. But if one of the party at any point of time comes up and says that he is not, he or she, they do not agree to the terms and conditions of mediation, then obviously the mediation will fail, and then there is no other option rather than going into the litigation process. So this is one of the things that you always have to keep in mind, that mediation process is always voluntary. So it can happen only with the consent of both the parties. It cannot happen with the consent of one party and one party is not agreeing to the same. So this was the entire process, and this was the entire meaning of mediation, that what exactly the mediation is. Now coming up to the provision of mediation, there are several provisions in our legislation that provides for conciliation and settlement before litigating in the court. So in 2003, under Civil Procedure Mediation Rules, the concept of mandatory mediation was introduced for the first time. So mandatory mediation allows the court to send a case for mediation without both the parties consent, where there is an element of settlement and the relationship between the parties is such that it needed to be preserved. So in 2003, there was a concept that came up which was called as mandatory mediation, and family disputes including matrimonial cases are covered under mandatory mediation, as in the eyes of law it is a relationship between the parties which must be preserved. So this concept of mandatory mediation came up in 2003, and this particular concept, the family disputes and matrimonial disputes were also included. So now mandatory, as the term itself speaks, that mandatory mediation is that whenever one of the parties has filed a case against the other party, it is the discretionary power of the court. It will be mandatory to send the parties to the mediation first. So this rule came up in 2003, and if you'll see Civil Procedure Mediation Rules 2003, you will be able to find this particular rule there. You will be able to find the concept of mandatory mediation there. So apart from that, if you will go through section 89 of CPC, it provides for alternative dispute resolution mechanism to be followed in the cases where there is a possibility of a settlement. So section 89 of the Code of Civil Procedure 1908 gives the civil court powers or discretion to refer cases to arbitration and conciliation or in the mediation. So there are certain modes that has been defined in section 89. One of the mode is arbitration. The second one is Lok Adalat. The third one is any institution for judicial settlement, and the fourth one is mediation to effect a compromise between the parties. So these all are the modes that has been defined under section 89. Even the mediation is also covered in the section. So there is another legislation of section 89 of CPC. If you'll go through that, you'll be able to find that. Apart from section 89 and apart from the CPC rules, there is section 9 of Family Court Act 1984. So if you go through the section 9 of Family Court Act, this section makes it a duty. It is a duty of all family courts to endeavor towards settlement of disputes. So this section gives immense power and responsibility to the family court to facilitate a certain settlement above all. So by using terminology such as assist and persuade parties into settlement, and by giving power to even adjourn proceedings where there is a possibility of reaching a settlement in any way, the statute encourages reference to mediation proceedings. So Section 9 of Family Court Act 1924 also talks about the mediation process, and it specifically says that it is the duty of the court to send the parties to mediation. And apart from even though it is a duty also, apart from that, this particular section also gives power to the court that at any point of time while during a particular litigation, if at any point of time the parties feels that they can stop the litigation and they can reconcile, or if there is a possibility that the judge can see, that the court can see, or the advocates are telling to the court that there is a possibility of settlement in this particular matter. So the court has the power that at any stage, at any point of time in any litigation, the court can send a particular party to mediation center to resolve the issues. So this is one of the other power which is given to the family court in section 9. Apart from section 9, again there is section 23 clause 2, and there is section 23 clause 3 of Hindu Marriage Act, where a court is directed to try reconciliation between the divorce seeking parties depending upon the nature and depending upon the circumstances of a particular case. So same is laid down in section of the Special Marriage Act also, that it specifically says that reconciliation as an option to be opted by the court at the first instance in the divorce cases, but the specifically divorce cases is mentioned in this particular provision. But even if you see in domestic violence cases and in other cases, at the first instance the court will send both the parties to the mediation only. So section 23 pertains to the grant of divorce decree in matrimonial cases. But before the grant of divorce decree, the court is required to make every possible effort towards the reconciliation between the spouses. For the purpose of reconciliation, the court has full discretion to adjourn case and refer it to the mediator, either appointed by the parties themselves or appointed by the court. So this is said in section 23 of the Hindu Marriage Act. So now these were the all provisions that are already there in our legislation, that are already laws and has been mentioned in the acts. So based on these above mentioned laws, it is very clear that the discretionary power has been given to the court, and this discretionary power has been highly encouraged under statute, because there are so many provisions that just for the mediation there are so many provisions that has been laid down in the law, in the legislation. So it is very clear that even the legislation and even the courts, they are encouraging mediation and negotiations in family matters. So a court referred mediation, a mediation which is referred by the court, may lead to compulsory requirement to attend the mediation process. So what happens is, when the court orders for the mediation process to the parties, it becomes mandatory for both the parties to attend the mediation processes. This is the one of the concept that I told you, that the concept of mandatory mediation, which was introduced in 2003 in white CPC rules. So this is again the same concept is being applied here. So the court referred mediation, the mediation which is referred by the court, may lead to compulsory requirement to attend the mediation process. That is a possibility that one of the party may say that they do not want to do mediation. So in that case, the mediation will be failed and the case is sent back to the court. But the point here is that at least the courts are taking every possible step and the courts are encouraging the mediation and settlement between the parties rather than giving importance to the litigation between the parties. So this is the main point here, that the courts are making best possible efforts for the mediation and settlement of the matrimonial cases rather than getting into the litigation process. So apart from that, in 2013, a Supreme Court case, a judgment came. The case is called as K. Srinivas Rao versus D. A. Deepa. There was an opinion in this particular court that even in criminal proceedings, even in criminal uncompoundable cases where the parties want to settle the particular dispute, should be sent for mediation. So, making it necessary for the divorce cases to have mediation if there is a scope of settlement between the parties. It also ordered all mediation centers to have pre-litigation clinics and publicize it among the masses so that matrimonial disputes can be solved without reaching the stage of litigation. So this particular opinion and this particular concept also came in 2013, where a Supreme Court judgment was delivered in the case of K. Srinivas Rao versus D. A. Deepa, where the court, as I told you, where the court has said that even if the case is criminal in nature, and even if the case is uncompoundable, if both the parties want, they can go for the mediation, they can settle their disputes, and then thereafter the particular complaint can be withdrawn. So this particular judgment is basically referring to 498A case, because earlier in 490A case there was immediate arrest of the parties without any mediation, without any counseling and anything. There was immediate arrest of the husband and the in-laws, depending upon the nature and circumstances of the case, obviously. But there was immediate arrest. But now, what has happened is in 498A, there are no immediate arrest in 498A cases. Now, when a particular girl, when a wife goes to Commission of Women for filing her complaint under Section 498A, the very first thing that the authorities, that the people there do, is the counseling. The very first thing they initiate with the complaint is the counseling. After the counseling of basically the process of counseling is of 90 days. So after the process of counseling, then if the authorities and if the officials feels that the matter is not going to settle, and the matter is the issues are very complex, and this particular matter cannot be solved in counseling, then only the FIR is done. Else there is no FIR until the counseling process is being done. So in that counseling, both the parties are being explained. The mediator are basically the official persons there, and the mediators basically try to explain the consequences of the litigation, and they try to explain that this is not the better option, that you should give a chance to your marriage, or if so such kind of counseling is there in 498A cases, and women in Commission for Women's Health cases. And when the matter is not settled in the counseling, then only the FIR is done, and before that there is no FIR. So this is how the court and the legislation and the government bodies are giving more and more importance to mediation and settlement between the married couples. In this particular judgment only, the court has ordered to set pre-litigation risk, so that parties can, before starting any litigation in matrimonial cases, parties can basically sit on the table and decide on any agreed mutual terms and conditions, that what they basically want to do, whether they want to give a chance to a marriage, or whether they want to go for the mutual divorce. So in any case, they just want to settle the matter. So this provision has been given in this judgment, that there should be pre-litigation clinics also, and then it has also been ordered by the judge that the court and the authority should publicize it among the in the society, so that more and more couple could get to know about the pre-litigation clinics and all such things, the center of mediations and all these things, so that their issue can be resolved without reaching at the stage of litigation. So these are the endeavors that are being taken by the court these days. So as I already told you in the starting, that there was a misconception that if you go to the court, your marriage will be destroyed. So it is not the fact. people are not aware of the fact only that there is so many mediation authorities, mediation clinics, mediation desks, and mediation centers for resolving the dispute between the parties. So therefore, from these provisions that I told you, and from these arrangements by the court, it is clear that how the courts are encouraging the mediation and settlement process in matrimonial cases. Uh, and also the court are making their best effort, even the judges are making their best effort to settle a case rather than destroying a particular marriage. So now, when we know about the provisions of mediation in matrimonial litigation, now the question comes up that is very important to discuss in here is that who conducts the mediation. Now we know that what is mediation, and we know the provisions of mediations also. Now the question comes up that who conducts the mediation process. So there is always a mediator. A mediator is always there to conduct a mediation. There is always a mediator in mediation process who is a neutral third party who helps parties to compromise by facilitating discussion between the parties. What mediator basically do is he basically becomes a mediator and he facilitates the communication between the parties, because it can happen that both the parties are now in the mode that they don't want to talk to each other. There can be a possibility. So mediator basically he mediates and he starts a conversation between the parties. So this is also very important, and the mediator does, he undertakes all these things directly only. So by what does mediator do basically? Mediator helps the parties in communication. He also helps the party. He basically assists the parties in identifying the issues. He helps the parties that what basically are the issues, what is the root cause of any dispute, what is the root cause of any issue. So he assists the parties in identifying the issues. Apart from that, he also reduces the misunderstanding between the parties. Because obviously, when there will be more communication between the parties, there will be reduction of misunderstandings between the parties, which will ultimately help in mediation, which will ultimately help in the settlement of the case. So he reduces the misunderstandings. Then he makes effort to clarify the priorities of both the parties. Apart from that, he explores the areas of compromise. That he explores that what can be the areas, what can be the terms and conditions where both the parties can basically do amicable settlement. So he explores the area of compromise. Apart from that, he also generates options to solve the dispute and emphasizing that it is the party's own responsibility for making decisions which affects them without imposing any terms of settlement on either party. So the mediator also communicates the consequences, also communicates that it is your decision. Ultimately, the decision will be of the parties only. He does not impose any terms and condition on the party. He also explains to the parties that it is your own decision. If you want to settle the case here, it can be settled. But if you want to go process ahead for litigation, then the file will be sent back to the court. So this also is informed by the mediator to the parties. So now all these things, whatever points I've discussed, so this is what mediator does in a particular mediation process. So mediator also takes single sessions and he also takes joint sessions for counseling of the parties. In the single sessions, mediator will separately ask the issues from both the parties for understanding the root of the problem, and then he will take the joint sessions for counseling of both the parties together. Even in the mediation process, the parents or relatives or friends of the parties can also be there, can also accompany them. So to explore the best possible ways for settlement and to avoid the litigation. So this is one other provision which has been made by the court, that the court has allowed the family and friends and even the lawyers of the parties to be present in the mediation session, so that the better options can be explored and both the parties and the families of both the parties are well satisfied that if the particular mediation has been successful, then the process is very transparent among everyone. So both the parties and the families of both the parties are satisfied with the fact. So now, uh, after knowing that what basically mediation is, what who conducts the mediation, now the question is that what is the process of mediation? What exactly is the process of mediation, which is very important for the people to know. So there are two uh, processes of mediation. The parties can opt any one of them. So the first one is mediation through the court, and the second one is mediation through a mediation center. Now there is a difference in both the things that I'll explain to you. The first that I told you is the mediation through court. So where any of the party, that is either husband or wife, they have already filed a matrimonial case against other party, then the mediation that will take place is through court process, because in that case a judge will order both the parties to go for the mediation at the first instance. So every court has mediation center and court premises only. For example, in Delhi there are six district courts. So in all these six district courts there are separate mediation center where the husband and wife are being sent for mediation by the family court judge. So this is called as mediation through court, where the judge orders the mediation. So where the judge do not order the mediation, it is a mediation through mediation center. Where a judge orders specifically that both the parties have to go for the mediation, then it is called as mediation through the court. But otherwise, you will say mediation through a mediation center. So when there is a mediation through court, a particular date of hearing is given to both the parties, husband and wife, for mediation, and on that date, husband and wife has to be present before the mediator. Mediator will be the third neutral person, and mediator are already appointed by the court for counseling of both the parties. So you don't have to appoint for the mediators, and if you're opting for the process of mediation through court, then you don't have to appoint a particular mediator. The mediator are already appointed by the court for the counseling. So it is important to mention, in order to encourage settlement between the parties, court offers mediators for settling a case. So if the mediator succeeds in settling one case, he will get commission. So this is the process, that if a particular mediator he succeeds to settle one case, he will get commission on that particular case. So in this way, the mediator tries his level best to settle a particular case between husband and wife. So this provision of commission has been introduced by the court only, so that the court can encourage more and more mediations. So this is the reason why the court says that they will give commission to the mediator who is successful in settling one of the matrimonial dispute. So this is how the mediator gives all his efforts to settle a matter, because he has monetary interest in the same. So this is how the entire process works. So the mediation process is of 90 days, where parties will get dates on weekly basis, or there is also a possibility where the parties can get a date twice a week, depending upon the complexity of the issue. So after 90 days, the mediator has to submit a report in the court that whether the mediation was successful or whether the mediation has been failed. So if the mediation has failed, the mediator will send the file back to the court for litigation, and if the mediation is successful, that is, if both the parties agree to settle their dispute, whatever the terms and conditions are, that will be decided mutually between the parties only. Nobody can impose the terms and condition on them. So if both the parties agree to settle their dispute, then whatever the terms and conditions that are mutually decided by both the parties in front of a mediator and in front of the respective lawyers are reduced to writing. So a settlement agreement or a compromise deed is drafted between the husband and wife, whereas where all the terms and conditions which has been decided in the mediation process is reduced to writing, is written down, it is mentioned accurately. Then the mediator will ask both the parties to go through the entire compromise deed go through the entire agreement, and with the consent of both both the parties will sign and execute the said agreement. So it is very simple. If the mediation is successful, there will be a compromise deed or there will be a settlement agreement. But if the mediation fails, then the mediator will send the file back to the court for further processing. So this is what I wanted to explain, that whether the case be it a divorce case, be it a domestic violence case, when one of the party has filed a particular case against the other party in the court, at the first instance, the judge will order mediation. When the parties will come to the mediation, they will get weekly dates, or the dates can be twice a week also, depending upon the issues and the complex. If the issues are very complex, and the dates can be twice a week also. Within 90 days, the mediator has to give a report that whether the mediation is failed or whether the mediation is successful. If the mediation is failed, as I told you, the file will go back to the court again for the further proceedings. And if the mediation is successful, then an agreement is drafted between the parties, which is called as compromise deed, or which it can also be called as the settlement deed. So the agreement, now if the mediation is successful, the agreement shall be presented in the court to withdraw the pending cases. So once the agreement is presented in the court and both the parties give the statement that they have settled their dispute, and all the terms and conditions has been mentioned in the agreement, the judge will ask the party to withdraw the case. So this is how the case is settled and the case shall be withdrawn. But one thing again I want to tell you here is that the party who is withdrawing the case should make sure that they take liberty to reopen the case if the terms and conditions of the said agreement is violated or breached by any of the party. So it is important to take the liberty to reopen the case, otherwise it will be a long process again. So this was one of the advice that I would want to give you, that always take liberty from the court and try that the judge mentions this particular lines in the order that is being passed by the judge, that the judge is giving liberty to the party that in case any of the terms and conditions has been violated or breached by the party, then the case may be reopened. So this was the process of mediation through court. But apart from that, as I told you, that there is another way of mediation also, which is the mediation through mediation centers. So in that case, if neither of the parties, the husband or wife, if neither of the parties has filed any case in front of the court, and the couple first wishes to go for the mediation process mutually, then they can refer the case to separate mediation center, which is formed by the government for settlement of dispute. So every state, every zone has separate mediation center. In Delhi, there are probably 5 to 6 mediation centers. One is in at Parliament Street in Vikas Bhavan also. So there are separate mediation centers being organized and arranged by the government, and in those mediation centers also the mediators are already appointed by the government. All the mediators are basically the government employees only. So it is not a very expensive process. Mediation through court is free of cost, and mediation through the mediation center through a separate body has minimal expenses. So obviously it is very cheap as compared to the entire full-fledged litigation. Very cheaper than that. So if the parties first wish to undergo mediation process without filing any case, then the parties, by the way of an application, approach the Delhi Mediation Center or whatever the name of mediation center may be, depending upon the states. So by the way of the application, they can start the mediation process and the mediation and the counseling. Even in COVID-19, even in this pandemic era, the mediation centers are operating. They are operating virtually, and the entire process of counseling is being done virtually by the mediators. So they are also constantly working for the mediation and settlement of the matrimonial disputes. So this is the process of mediation, that how you can how one of the party can undergo the mediation process, either by mediation through court or either by separate mediation bodies. So this is the only 2 ways that any of the party, the husband and wife, can go and process for the mediation. So this was the entire basically process of the mediation. Now, the issue comes that what all things can be discussed in mediation, what all things husband and wife can discuss. So the first thing that they can discuss is about the settlement terms, obviously. So settlement can also be of two types. If the first one is that if the parties want to live together and give chance to their marriage. So in that case, the terms can be decided that what will be the terms, in what terms and conditions both the parties will reconcile and they will start living together. So this is also called as settlement. But this is also called as settlement that if both the parties are mutually agreeing for getting divorced. So this is also settlement as it avoids the litigation process. So the settlement can be of two types. Number one, that the parties can agree to reconcile. Number two, that the parties can agree for the mutual divorce. So both the cases are called as settlement only. So these terms of settlement can be decided in the process of mediation. Apart from that, the allocation of assets, the allocation of assets including movable and immovable properties can also be decided in the mediation. Apart from that, the amount of alimony, if any, if there is any amount of alimony, then the terms of alimony and the amount of alimony can also be amicably settled in the mediation. There is no need to go and file a separate case for maintenance under section 125 CRPC. There is no need for such litigations. The terms and conditions of alimony and the amount of alimony can also be decided in the process of mediation. Apart from that, if there is any bargaining in the amount of settlement, that can also be done in the mediation session. Apart from the child support and the expenses of the child, what will be the child support and what are the expenses of the child and what will be the terms and conditions, whether the child, even the custody of the child can be discussed in this mediation session also, that who will have the custody of the child and whether it is a joint custody or not. So all these things can also be discussed in mediation process. Apart from that, the issue of residence if any, because it also has to be decided that where will the wife will stay, where will the wife reside. If she do not have any place to reside, then what will be the place of her residence. So this issue can also be discussed in the mediation process also. And apart from that, if there is any other issue or if there is any other doubt between both the parties, that can also be discussed in the mediation. So the mediation, as you can see, is really beneficial to the parties if successful. But if the mediation fails, obviously there is one channel which is litigation. But obviously it's worth giving a try, because if the mediation is successful, then obviously it will save a lot of time also, and it will save a lot of money also, which will actually be the litigation expenses. So this is how the mediation process is very beneficial for the couple, and it is worth giving a try. So now there are some of the facts that you should know about mediation. The first fact is that the process of mediation is highly confidential. It is highly private, highly confidential. So even in the orders that are being passed by the mediator, only the presence is marked. Only the presence of both the parties are marked. Nothing is recorded. Nothing, whatever you discuss in a mediation process, nothing is recorded anywhere. Neither it is written anywhere that who has said what to what parties, what is the issue of discussion. Nothing is being recorded. Only the presence of both the parties is being marked, that yes, the husband is present along with whatever the whoever have accompanied the husband, the name of those person, and the wife has presence, and whoever is from the side of the wife, those people are mentioned. That is it. And apart from that, no orders are being passed in the mediation process. So it is highly confidential. So even the judge will not come to know that what has been discussed in the mediation session. He will only come to know that whether the mediation is successful or whether the mediation has failed. He will not come to know that what was the discussion and who was fighting and who was not fighting, who was sitting by. Nothing will be actually disclosed in front of the judge. It is highly confidential proceeding. So the party can be open about the exact issue they are facing. So this is one of the fact and one of the very important fact that this mediation process is highly confidential. So the parties can actually come up and be open about their issues and try to genuinely resolve their matters, I should say. The second thing is obviously I would talk about the cost and the speed. So if the mediation is successful, mediation can be cheaper and quicker than any court proceeding. By setting the agenda and choosing the number of sessions you have, parties have much more control over the entire process than when they are part of the court proceedings. So the mediator will also manage the process and ensure that the mediation does not continue if it is unproductive. So this is one of the another point that if the mediator feels that whatever sessions we are doing is unproductive, mediator knows that nothing is going to happen to these parties and they will not basically settle. There is no scope of settlement in a particular case, and if he comes to know that the sessions he is doing is unproductive or making the issue worse, it is the discretion of the mediator. He will stop the mediation process there and then only. So this is also very one of the very important point. So it is free of cost. Mediation is free of cost when ordered through court and minimal expense if processed through mediation center, but definitely worth trying because if the mediation is successful, the entire cost of litigation is saved plus the time of years are saved, because we know that when a particular case is there in the court, it may take several years also to resolve. So it saves the year. So that is why I always say that it is always worth trying. The other thing that I would want to talk about is the communication. So a mediator role is to facilitate a dialogue between the parties and encourage suggestions about the outcome. So when a decision is made together in mediation, it is more likely that parties will be content with it and they will stick to the terms and conditions. So mediation is designed to promote communication and an ongoing cooperating and cooperative relationship between the parties. So this is particularly important for parents who are, who have children also, and they are fighting for basically fighting for any of the matrimonial dispute. They are into a dispute and they have children also. So such things like mediation sessions and the role of mediator, such things are very very important in those kind of relationships and in those kind of marriages, because the mediator encourages the communication, and the more the communication will be, the lesser will be the misunderstanding. So obviously it will help the parties to reconcile. Another thing is that the flexibility. So the mediator will encourage the parties to set the agenda and confirm what they want to cover in mediation. So you can address matters important to your own family and those which may not otherwise be relevant to the court process. All those matters can also be discussed in the mediation. And as I said, the family and the lawyers and the relatives and friends can also accompany. So guys, this was the entire thing about the mediation and negotiation in the matrimonial disputes. So with this, I end this session and I hand over to the moderators for the process.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was an amazing session, ma'am. We have a few questions from the student section. So, ma'am, what if you will allow?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, what kind of ADR method is more suitable and effective in modern family setup, like mediation or arbitration?
See, it depends upon the issue basically. See, because obviously the mediation is a better way to settle the dispute, but again, it depends upon the lifestyle of the families, I would say. That if there are more assets and the family is very filthy rich, in that case I would suggest that arbitration is the better way, because then obviously the husband and wife will allocate their assets also, and they will allocate their properties also, and all these things. There will be a heavy huge amount of alimony also. If the status of the family is really high, if the family is filthy rich, in that case, obviously arbitration is advisable. But then in matters which comes to the court and the normal matters where there is not much amount of alimony, and it is and where the matters they are not much complex, then in that case mediation is advisable. So it depends upon the issues. It depends upon the nature of a particular case.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, we have the next question is, does the process of mediation make the need of lawyers irrelevant? Because a certain section of lawyers have been opposing the ADR methods for a reason of it being threat to the lawyers' professions. Ma'am, what are your thoughts on this?
See, I don't think so that the process of mediation is a threat to lawyer profession, because see, ultimately if the lawyer want to charge their per appearances in mediation, they can charge from mediation also. They can, if they have the capacity to earn from mediation, they can earn from mediation also, because in mediation I believe that there is one single date in a week, but in generally when you go when you see a particular case, there is one date in a month. I'm talking about the court, but in mediation there is one date in a week. So I believe that you can earn better in mediation session. So how can it be a threat to your profession? It is good that a matter is settled. You will get the commission. You will get your litigation fees after the settlement of the particular case, and then you can earn on on the appearance basis also. Where in a court where you get one appearance in a month, in this particular mediation session you can get one appearance in a week. So I don't think that it is a threat to the profession at all.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is, does the emotional aspect of either of the parties play more important role in the negotiation and mediation process as compared to litigation?
See, emotions are nowhere. Emotions cannot be considered even in mediation also, even in court process also. See, if when emotion comes in, even the mediator can only hear your emotions, but he cannot do anything with your emotions. Ultimately, you have to take a decision. So whatever decision you will take, it will be drafted in an agreement. So we cannot draft your emotional things and your emotional stuff in the agreement. So emotions does not have role anywhere. Emotions are very personal things, and obviously it is quite possible that the husband and the wife can get emotional several times through the processes, even in the mediation session or even in the court. But that is something which cannot be considered at all. I mean, on personal level you can consider, but when it comes to the mediation session or when it comes to the court, obviously I don't think that the emotions are that much to be considered, because everything will happen through a process. Obviously, even if the wife, even if there are children, we cannot mention the emotions of the children in a particular agreement or in a mediation session. So I don't think that emotions have much role in all these things. Ultimately, it is you who have to take the decision, and whatever the decision you are making, whatever the decision you are taking is to be taken forward.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is, we observe that remedies in litigations related to matrimonial matters are more women-centric. Is it also the case with mediation and other ADR methods, or these methods provide more equality-based approach?
Alright, so this is a very specific question. See, when you come to a mediation, so I would like to answer this question in terms of mediation only. So when you come to mediation, this is also one of the role of mediator, that he will explain to the husband that, see, though it is a fact that the laws are more inclined towards the women and the husband do not have any laws. So if you do not want to settle the particular issue in the mediation, then you will be actually dragged to the court, and the husband will be the person who will be harassed more. So this is one of the consequences that you are telling to me. So this is the role of the mediator, that he will explain the consequences of the litigation process also to the parties. So this is the role of the mediator. So this is being explained by the mediator to the husband. Ultimately, the decision is of the parties that whether they want to settle the matter in the mediation itself or whether they want to go to litigation process.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is, can mediation be used for cases related to Section 498A ITC and domestic violence as well?
Yes, it can be used. In 498A, it is a process also. It is a mandatory process where you cannot escape mediation and you cannot escape the counseling process. In 498A, as soon as the wife goes to the Women Commission and she gives the complaint, the very first thing that the officials and the authorities will do is start a counseling process. So before counseling, until and unless the counseling is not over, they do not go for the FIR. Only if the counseling fails, then only the FIR is registered against the husband and the in-laws, whatever the case may be. So it is mandatory. And even in domestic violence cases, the first thing that the court does is send both the parties to the mediation center. So yes, it is being used in 498A cases also and domestic violence cases also. And apart from that, if there is any other matrimonial case also, the first preference of the judge is always to send both the parties to the mediation center first, and then mediation can be done several number of times also in a particular case. It is not mandatory that only mediation can be held only one time. So if the parties want to do mediation several number of times, they can do several times also. So yes, it is possible in 498A and in domestic violence.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is, how important is the competency of a mediator, keeping in mind that incompetency may give an undue favor to one spouse.
See, the role of mediator is always very important. So, but now the situation is that the mediators are already appointed by the court. But then again, there is a provision that if you don't like a particular mediator, if you want to change your mediator, you can give an application to the court that you think that the mediator is biased and you don't want to process ahead with this mediator, so kindly change the mediator. So the court will pass an order and the court will give you another mediator. The court will transfer your particular mediation session to other mediator. So it is quite possible that you always have a right to change the mediator.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, how far is it arduous for mediators to attract the faith of Indian families of rooted mentality?
See, this is a question. See, again, I would say that it depends upon the mentality of the mediator. It comes under the role of the mediator. So, see, whatever the situation is, as I already told you, that if you want to change the mediator, now whatever the mediator thinks, he will think. It is your fate that you got such a mediator, so you can always change the mediator. Obviously, if every judge is different, every mediator is different, every person is different, everyone will have their different mentalities. If his mentality suits you, then you can process with that particular mediator. If it doesn't suit you, you can change your mediator.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We'll head to the last question now. Ma'am, do you feel that students should focus more towards the field of ADR now as a career option, considering the fact that more and more matters are now being referred for resolution through these mechanisms? And if you have any tips for the budding lawyers, ma'am, please.
Alright. So, first of all, I would answer your first question that even if, see, the field of dispute resolution in India is being developing, but it is not developed as of now. So, you can choose this option simultaneously. You can keep it as a secondary option, but I do not advise you to just focus on dispute resolution because in India it is developing now. There is no statute. There is no statute as of now. If you go through the mediation process also, you will see that there are provisions in particular act. You will find provisions, but there is no statute as of now. So with the time, definitely this ADR field will grow with the time. So you can keep it as an option side by side. presently you won't be able to. I think that you won't be able to earn that much in ADR as compared to other fields. But obviously you can take it, uh, and this is my opinion. This is my personal opinion. So you can keep this particular field secondary. You can keep working. You can in this field. So when once there is one starting out, and when there is a time when ADR is developed in our country, then probably it can be one of the field that you can look for. But as of now, you can keep it secondary, and you can work on other fields as well. And one of the advice that I would like to give to the budding lawyer is that even if I would like to give you advice in the internship fields, that don't directly jump to Supreme Courts and don't directly jump to the highly high profile and very reputed law firms, because you won't be able to learn there anything. Everything will go off your mind. You'll go through the files. You won't be able to understand anything. So start from the district court. Always start from the ground level, then go to the higher level. So because when you start from the district court, you'll be able to learn all the pleadings, that how you talk to client, how you have to attract the client, how you have to charge the fees, how you have to draft a particular basic application. And then after learning all these things, after learning the ground level work, then you come to high court, and then you will be able to connect it, and you will be able to learn that yes, that was something which was said in district court, and now the appeal has been made in high court. So if you directly go to appeal, you won't be able to understand anything. So I have seen several students directly jumping to Supreme Court just for the for the name, for the sake of the brand or something like that. But I do not advise to directly jump to Supreme Court and highly reputed law firms. Just start from the district court, because district court is your place, and this is the place from where you will be able to learn maximum at this point of time. So this was my personal advice to all of you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for answering all the questions patiently. It was an absolute honor to have you here. Now, ma'am, Pooja would take over for a formal vote of thanks.
All right.
Thank you, Bhakti. Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us an informative coverage on mediation and negotiation and family and matrimonial dispute. You have covered all the doubts on the topic by answering the questions many of our viewers had asked. And I would also like to thank Legal team. They have worked in the background to ensure the smooth flow of this session. Lastly, ma'am, it was an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you once again, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you.